give you a list.
And I think that's something really
people,
special about small press poetry.
Yeah, correct.
It is such a smaller community. Everybody knows everybody because we're willing to put one another's names out there. Say, I've been published with so-and-so. They've also published so-and-so.
Yeah.
Like Todd and I have both published Julie.
Yeah, Julie Valin.
Mm-hmm. And she's phenomenal. She's in California.
Yeah, writer out of California.
And it's really all about those connections.
Yeah.
She should be on the show.
Yeah.
If we can ever get her over here.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's a very sweet thing to be able to, say to somebody, like you, hey, I think this person would be great. Mm-hmm. Because if we get along, then chances are you're going to get along with the person that we just recommended.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
of course, she knows everybody, so it sort of makes it easy.
Yeah. Anyone,
I'm
friends of the great Linzi Garcia.
Coattail riding, Danny. I'm coattail riding.
I'm coattail riding Todd Cirillo.
No,
Absolutely, he's friends with Gary Snyder. My goodness. My goodness.
Yeah.
But it is really cool. I feel like this community is very supportive of one another. It's not a lot of competition. Mm-hmm. I mean, you like what you like and you don't like what you don't like.
Yeah.
And that's fine. You don't have to like everything that everybody's putting out. And I think that we are honestly critical.
Yeah.
I think we say,
you have to be
this
critical.
Is the kind of stuff we enjoy. This is why we enjoy it. Mm-hmm. This is the stuff I don't enjoy and why I don't enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Not everyone likes everything. Jesus Christ.
And that's fine. I think poetry, and this is for any art form. I mean, there are such diverse styles that I think people really have a narrow view of what poetry should be, what small press poetry is, what an open mic should be. Mm-hmm. And it's really none of that. I think you really have to give it a chance because you're always going to be surprised.
Yeah.
Isn't that a great point of view? Wouldn't you like to hear a poem about that, Dan?
I would. Do we have a poem about that?
I'm sure we do. Oh.
Well, welcome to Prospero's Pit. Here I am joined with Linzi Garcia and Todd Cirillo. Todd's coming all the way from New Orleans.
Yep.
And we just went over this, but over my head. But yeah, I'm glad you guys are here. And why don't you guys tell me a little bit about yourselves?
Go ahead and get us started.
Good time, looking for shiny moments, that about sums it up. Yeah, publisher. I have a press, 6 Foot Swells Press. Mm-hmm. In this awful game called poetry. Yeah.
Right. I was gonna say, said like a poet.
You really? Oh God! Now you just made me sick. I'm gonna puke. Yeah.
But yeah, and both of you guys are poets.
Yeah.
My understanding.
Yeah. That's how we got to know each other.
Yeah.
We both write poetry. Todd's been at it a lot longer than I have, but very inspirational in a lot of ways. We both work for small presses. He started a small press, and I am the poetry editor and publicist for Meadowlark Press. So we talk a lot about our publishing methods, how we select things, and then how we write outside of that. That's really cool. It's been great to brainstorm on that.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious, what's going on in the independent publishing world right now?
Ooh, a lot of different things. You've got a huge variety of what's going on. We have everything from Poetry Foundation, which I don't ever think of as a small press, but they are. They do Poetry Magazine, which I think is one of the most well-known literary journals. And then we do things where we don't do literary journals, but we publish authors' full collections. And really, it's up to each press, and it's really neat to have that kind of authority. What's a really strong word, but we say these are the kind of things we like. This is what we think the world needs. This is what we're going to publish. Yeah.
But I also think it's tough because anybody can publish now.
Yeah.
Right.
So, it's just flooded with anything that somebody feels they want to type out.
Mm-hmm.
and hit send or hit post.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So how do you filter out the anybody from the ones that you think are deserving of their voices being shared?
I'm glad you asked. This is
yeah,
what
it's
we've
a
been
great
talking about
question,
all
Dan.
evening.
Yeah, it's a great question. Go ahead.
We like to publish things, and I'm speaking for myself here. You can add on to this. Things that say something in a new way. Ideas that might be relatable, but said in a new way. You know, when you're reading and you go, wow, I've never thought of it like that before. That's what I want more of. That's what I think needs to be shared. Something that you can feel in your heart, but is said in an entirely new way.
Yeah. And I think, like with my press, 6 foot Swells Press, it's more of that people are putting out a clear story, a clear product that you can that you can tell that they've crafted, that they've revised, but also that. So our simple philosophy is, if the poet has to describe or explain their poetry, then the poet's failed. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to be fun in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just having I was having a conversation where that was said, but about cinema, about movies, where if the director has to explain what you just watched, then probably they didn't do a good enough job.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm really curious about is how do you guys balance that, like, selectivity with also being in competition with, like, juggernauts like Amazon, people that kind of run the board,
Right.
but also be creative and selective with what you're putting out there.
Well, one, Amazon don't give a fuck what you put out,
Right.
as long as you put it out on their platform.
Mm-hmm.
So the selectivity, again, like Linzi said, it comes down to the individual. So if we have this press, what do we want to put on? Who do we want on the masthead? Like we talked about your hunter tattoo earlier. Well, there's only 2 people on that Rolling Stone masthead who got the kudos after they've died. Ralph Gleason and Hunter S. Thompson. Same thing. If you have this press, then who do you want to represent it?
Mm-hmm.
Some people can put anybody, no matter. They just want to put out the books. Whereas in my case, it is, who would I want to sit and have a drink with? Who can I really be proud of to put out there? Mm-hmm. Not saying that it is anything more special than anybody else's, but it's special to me. Mm-hmm. And when something comes out, whether it's my own stuff or whether it's somebody else's that I put under 6 foot Swells, I want it to be the absolute best, and I want people to take notice because it is different. Mm-hmm. In a way, I want the writing to be different. Again, if you have to explain it, then you've lost. If it is anything other than genuine or clever or non-humorous, then you've lost. Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that I find myself, like, when I'm talking to young artists and I'm talking to people my age about their work, a lot of it is, I feel like they're trying to build a vision or an image that they want someone else to understand before they even come close to understanding who they are and understanding, like, the story that they are trying to tell. And so I was talking about this podcast specifically about the guests that I bring on, the people I bring on, and it's always just people that I have a connection with. I have this happen because I met Linzi, who happened to come into the bookstore, and we happened to strike up a conversation, and here we are. Like, that's, I think, what separates, that voice that you guys are looking for, which is unique, different. Mm-hmm. It separates it into, I haven't heard it said this way. It's because you probably haven't met this person, and this person's taking the time to sculpt their voice. So I guess let's go straight into like I'll start with you. We'll go into your story. Like, why did you want to get into independent publishing? What brought you to your publishing company?
Oh, we just wanted to have fun.
Yeah.
There was a magnificent, yeah. There was a magnificent poet out of California. Her name was Anne Meadowlark. And she was a beautiful, beautiful friend of mine. And Annie came up in the 60s, 70s. She was part of the Meat Poets. She was the only female in the Meat Poets. That movement, and if you look into that movement, you'll see she was the only female with Bukowski and a lot of those Southern California poets who I think now everything they write is about their experiences with Bukowski. But Annie corresponded with him for about 15 years. And she was the only one who could hold her own with all of them. And she only met him one time, But that was when they were doing all the mimeograph sort of revolution kind of things, And so when I was starting 6 Foot Swells Press with Julie Valin and Matt Amott, 2 poets out west as well, Annie just said, do it until it's not fun anymore, sweetie. That's all she said. And, it's been going for about 20 years now. And we only do about maybe 1 or 2 books per 18 months. Only because we only want to put out that, if I got 6 Foot Swells poets together, it's this magnificent gumbo of horrible people who are having the best time and love each other more than most, But they're just exceptional writers because they don't care about putting out quantity. They only care about putting out, the best possible poem. But yeah, I started it for that, just for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You still having fun?
Oh, yeah, I have a great time. It's getting a little harder.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a magnificent time because when you put out a product, whether it's my poems or anyone else's, there's an absolute joy in it, that's an accomplishment. To see your name on something,
Mm-hmm.
Like if you do, a documentary film, and all of a sudden, there it goes, credits come up, and there's your name, bam, Danny.
Mm-hmm.
That's an accomplishment, man, as long as you care about it and you craft it, and it's not just for quantity,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. It's like a child.
I don't know. That's a good. I wonder about that. I think it's more like just the. I don't know, like the perfectly cold beer or something, or the perfect dessert that you get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you, Linzi? What made you get into poetry?
I was really drawn to things that I enjoyed reading in a way that you feel good about seeing a piece of art or seeing a film where you just want to read it again. You just want to see it again. Mm-hmm. And so I started reading and rereading. And then I thought, this is what I want to do. So then you start writing, and then you start joining creative writing clubs, starting creative writing clubs. And then I hosted a couple poetry series, just because I needed more poetry. Nobody was doing it. I needed more. Mm-hmm. So it was very selfish.
Yeah. Okay.
I needed to feed this need that I had. Uh-huh. And then it developed into so much more. My God, I had no idea that there was this poetry community that there is. I was just doing it for myself until I found, Reberg, mm-hmm. and realized that Kansas City specifically was quite the hub for poetry.
Right.
Shocked me, right? Of all places, I thought.
Who would have guessed?
So I'm from Colorado.
You
and
got the easy question.
Right?
You asked her what about poetry. Ask me about publishing.
Well, I'll get into that. I wouldn't have gotten into publishing without getting into poetry in the first place.
We'll bounce back. Will you chime in whenever?
That's right. That's right.
No, it's all good.
We're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I liked meeting people. I liked reading different styles of poetry, everything from really scholarly poetry and old poetry to spoken word, and everything in between. I just didn't know it was out there until I came to Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what brought me joy. That's what I kept pursuing, reading, writing. And then eventually I had a creative writing professor who encouraged us to look into publishing and had some success there and just kept that track up and thought I'd start a poetry series and did that and then got involved more and more. And then I thought, wow, this would be really cool to make a job.
Mm-hmm.
This would be the dream job. So then I went and I got my master's and worked with Kevin Rabis, and in Emporia there is Meadowlark Press. And so the geography of it all just worked out really well. Where I was, the only one studying what I was studying, poetry and small press publishing.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the small press that was right in our town needed some extra help, and I was there to help. So I got started just doing publicity for our authors. And that's been great. I mean, I love hosting book launches. I love advertising for them on social media or out in the community. And then that developed into this poetry imprint that we have, Meadowlark Poetry Press, which is essentially just Meadowlark Press, but all of the poetry.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my dream job. So really just pursuing what I wanted until I got it.
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's really a dream come true. It really is. And I just wanted to keep putting out the poetry. I wanted to have fun.
More thought out than mine.
No, not at all. I just wanted to have fun too.
Very good, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I selfishly pursued what I enjoyed.
Yeah.
And then I also thought, wow, a lot of other people enjoy this. Way more than I expected.
Well, I'm certainly glad you pursued.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's been a joy.
Would you like to answer that question?
Yeah. How'd you get?
What question?
How'd you get? Why poetry? Why did you choose to get into poetry?
Well, just a broken heart at 15 years old. That's all.
That'll do it.
That'll
do it.
Yeah. Every single poem should be a love poem in some form or fashion, for good or ill.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. And it was just because, when there she was and there she wasn't, and you sit out on the back deck, maybe there's a dramatic storm happening or rolling in or something, you start writing a paragraph, and maybe some people read that, or you have a teacher or someone that takes an interest in that dumb paragraph. It's just broken heart, that's all.
Yeah. I want to talk about the poetry scene because we do have two. So Colorado, which I just found out.
Yeah.
New Orleans.
Yeah.
I mean, and we were talking about Damien Rucci earlier, someone who's been on the podcast, and we're seeing it feels like, I don't know if I'm tapping into it, or at least it's becoming apparent that we're seeing like little blooms, little blossoms like across the country where there's these real scenes in specific cities, specific areas. Talked about Kansas City's scene. What's going on in New Orleans right now?
New Orleans has a great scene for poetry, and I've run a couple. I've either helped or I run a couple poetry series there. One I'm running right now is Twisted River Poetry Series. I've done Blood Jet Poetry Series. I helped with someone who is a founder of the New Orleans Poetry Festival, which has become one of the preeminent sort of poetry festivals in the country. But I mean, poetry scene, yeah. So there's a lot of stuff happening there, and but I myself, just me personally, I'm more into creating an event, doing something big, and then stepping back from it, because I think it can get very tedious And I think, running a poetry series, I think, is difficult. And I don't know how much comes back from it. For me personally, I know a lot of people. They think of it as a sense of community and something like that, and I don't necessarily see it like that as much. And so.
That's interesting. You're in it for a really successful event.
Yeah, I like the events. I like a very focused sort of event.
And I'm in it for the community.
I have a very hard time with open mics, yeah.
Okay, so wait. So elaborate on that.
I mean, sometimes open mics, it's just as hard to be on stage as it is to be in the audience.
Yeah.
I think we get that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
As anyone who's been to an open mic, I feel like
you feel
I understand.
Yeah. So,
but elaborate more on that for people who haven't, because.
Oh, I'm probably the wrong person. Yeah, Danny. I think
that just sounds like you're the right person.
No, absolutely, keep going.
Yeah,
please keep
talking. They serve its purpose, but again, it's.
Well, listen, because this is, I think, what you're touching on a little bit. This is what ended Prospero's Pit. I mean, the open mic series was, it got out of hand in a way that also was like anyone, it became, I've heard it sounded more like people were reading glorified journal entries, and like and then it would get just as rowdy with the drinking and everything like that. And so I've heard this complaint from people in Prospero's. I've heard this complaint from people on the East Coast, where there's like this, it's an observation. There's this balance of like running an open mic, hosting an open, well, first of all, the word open mic is a trigger for some, but like hosting a poetry event, what that's like. Are we letting anyone get on the mic, or are we having a select few?
Well, but again, Dan, you brought up like you said, people drinking and stuff. So the events that I put on, again, the biggest one that I do in New Orleans is Poets with Drinks.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just 75 to 125 people blacking out.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happens that when there happens to be a couple poets who get up there and help push people, sort of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a magnificent combination of really, really well-crafted poems that just happen to inspire people. Every poet that I bring in has a free bird of poetry or a stairway to heaven poetry, man. And it just happens to be like that communal event where people are yelling and they're screaming and they're hollering. And like I said, like the last one, I worked with a live band, and we bring that in. And I think that's what kind of gets lost. People understand what that event is, what they go into, and we encourage people to really get into it. Whereas I think it's harder on a if you do something on the regular like that open mic, and it's not contained, right? So all of a sudden you're getting people who are coming in and they're reading their journal entries, or they say, well, I just wrote this banjo song. Well, I don't fucking want to hear a banjo song right now, you know. And it might not be that great of a banjo song. There's not too many good banjo songs out there.
Right.
And open mics, that's what makes it tough, man, because everybody thinks they deserve to be the star.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you can say I got a 3-minute, or a 5-minute, open mic.
Yeah.
But they'll go on for 9 minutes.
Right.
Because they all want to hold that. That's tough, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough to manage that.
I think it's interesting talking city person to city person. My open mics have been in smaller towns.
Yeah.
And I don't run into the same issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the same regulars. And of course, you
Good
do
point.
get the superstars who want to keep going on, but you really have to be rigid, which is
Well, you gotta cut the
unfortunate.
mic.
Yeah. Ring
Yeah.
your little bell or whatever it may be where it says
Squirt
your
gun.
time is up. Try to find a good stopping point.
Yeah.
So I definitely see that, but also I think that when you're doing something regular, you get your regulars who participate in the open mic, and you have your trusted regulars, and then you've got the wild card every once in a while.
Yeah.
Which everybody enjoys. Like there was this cowboy that was first time at the open mic, had no idea what to expect. He thought he wanted to do music, and I thought, okay, this is gonna be some country songs. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. He was a professional opera singer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shocked everyone. Everybody loved it. Couldn't get enough. Said, keep going. And so that was a really pleasant surprise.
There's the opera singer on Royal Street that sings across from Rouse's with the dress on, and he sings opera.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
See, you just never know what to expect.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the fun of an open mic.
Yeah.
Is it's always something unexpected. You get your regulars, but you always get something unexpected. And I like to balance an open mic with featured poets, featured musicians,
Right.
a nice intermission, a quality venue, you know, give people the space to get the space that they want.
Intermission. How long is your intermissions?
I don't know, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
That's barely
Roll
a
right
peak
through them,
break.
20 minutes? However long you need, really.
I
I mean...
I don't do any. I just
You don't do any intermission? You
right
just
through
roll
them.
right through?
No.
Well, as
Maybe
a
you
matter
have
of
some
fact,
intermission poets who
well, I'll tell
We
you what,
usually do an
Danny.
intermission
I had,
session.
right.
have you ever heard of the poet Linzi Garcia?
That name sounds so familiar.
I had her as a feature reader in New Orleans at my poetry series in June.
That's right, you did
last
Oh wait,
June.
features,
the
you did
Lindsay Garcia, the
all
superstar.
features and then
Yeah.
all open mic.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
So we
I'd
had
never
3
been to a show like
features,
that.
and then rolled right into the open mic. Yeah.
There we go.
Get
That went
we
really
get out.
well.
Yeah, we get in, we
So
get
people
out.
who want to see the features,
She killed.
I bet she did.
Thanks.
I bet.
Yeah, it was awesome.
people who
Crushed.
want to see
I
the
was so proud.
features
I was so proud.
can see the features and then they can get out by the open mic if they don't want to do that, or they can stay all
'Cause
the way through.
Again, a lot of open mics are just somebody who is sitting there and they're going, they're writing all their poems. They're not even paying attention to what's going up there. They just want their time. Right?
Yeah.
You go up their time. As soon as they're done, then they cut out. Which sometimes, again, you have to because it's tough.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, so we've all hosted poetry events here, and I think it's so interesting. That it's like captains of a ship. Everyone operates differently.
So true.
And everyone has their different tactics and how they do these things.
It's all strategy.
It's all strategy.
Right.
And my experience was like I had zero experience. I mean, there's no, classic. There's no classic training
Poetry reading
for
before you hosted one.
Yes and no. Like I'd been to shows that featured a little bit of both, music.
Sure.
Well, so like that was everything that I've heard about Prospero. So Prospero's Pit has just been like a big inspiration, obviously, because I hear these stories. I'm like, what the hell? I've never seen or experienced anything like this, but what I've heard from other people, it sounds like a phenomena that happened at this very like sort of section of Kansas City history. And so to me, it was always like, well, why did it stop? Like, why did it stop? And then that's where you start hearing what happens, like the shit shows that like, start to come across.
Sure.
Especially as these these events become more and more popular.
Yeah.
And it, like word spreads. And so I've come from the schooling, the Thomas Wayne schooling of no musicians, of the
right.
no musicians.
Yeah.
Well, that's also that's also W.E. Leatham. But so there was that like combat of like, do we allow a musician to stroll in here with their guitar and kidnap everything because they have a sing-songy voice and it sounds pretty, or is this like solely poetry? So I guess what I'm saying is like I came from a step back approach, like my first time where I just like let it unfold and like just like observed and didn't like really step in. And then I've seen other people who are very hands-on or practically like their poetry is like getting to the microphone, being like, get out of here. Next up, who's next?
Right.
But yeah, I do think it's like interesting to see people, how they operate and how they like control these events, employ their regulars. Like it feels like a general, like a war general. Like we need so and so up there so we can like calm the crowd.
We all do it differently. And I think it takes a really impressive host too to keep everybody's attention. I mean, Todd's been a great host insofar as I really like the way you introduce people. He makes it very personal, says, this is how I know the person. This is what I really like about the poet. And that makes you feel really important as a poet. And I think it really gives good insight to the audience. Because a lot of people say, now it's so-and-so, and that's all you get.
Right.
Yeah.
Why do you want to be there? Like, why should I care about this person? And so I think it takes an entertaining host to really captivate the audience on top of the poetry.
Whereas I like to ask people, send me a fun bio, short fun bio, a short poem, and a good pick, fun pick. Majority of people have a hard time with those criteria.
See, I like that. I hope that I get to see you in your element at some point.
I'll send you an invite to the next Poets with Drinks.
Yeah,
it's off the chain.
That'd be cool. I'd be down.
It's off
I'd
the
be
chain.
down.
Yeah,
that'd be super fun.
You can film it all.
I'm because I'm excited to see. I don't know if you've been around or witnessed like the differences in geographical poets. Yeah, but it's interesting. I've had with Reberg and Will and Tom and all them here, and then the comparison with Damien out there, and now you. It's interesting to kind of get a flavor of each. Have you noticed any like differences in
between where?
Between like your southern roots and regions? Yeah, regions.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah, I think in the South we're a lot more laid back, and we're not impressed by much. We're impressed by how much you can drink, and how much fun you're gonna have, how you look in a tutu or with glitter on.
Okay.
In New Orleans, not the rest of the South.
I
can't wear a good tutu, and. I think it's more of a good, like I did a small tour in Texas. No, it was great. It was fucking Texas, man. I don't know. I prefer New Orleans. I love reading anywhere, and I do a lot. But there's definitely regional differences. Some people are real go-getters.
Yeah.
Right, and I think that's where the cold weather comes in.
Yeah,
they gotta
real hands-on.
Yeah,
screaming.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Whereas we say,
that sounds like New Jersey.
Right. Yeah. New Jersey. What the fuck can you do there? I don't know.
Fuck a job.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let me just cuss out.
Yeah, I've never been, but I like what they're doing there.
Yeah,
they have a lot going on. It seems. Whereas, again, I don't know, quantity versus quality, maybe.
And you were out in California for a while, too.
Yeah, California has, again, like that in starting, there was a whole after-hours poetry movement that started in California.
Okay.
That I was a part of for a while. And it was really based upon a collection of like-minded writers who were not... didn't necessarily write like one another, but were the ones that you go out and do shots with, and you felt good about it, and that's what kept us together, and everybody was honest with each other. Like, when was the last time you heard of a writer who really turned to somebody else and say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And they go, "This is fucking garbage, man." It doesn't happen that much, because everyone go, "Oh my God," well, it's all subjective, and everyone, it's their voice. Well, yeah, but there's a difference between writing and good writing, and so, but After Hours Poetry was like that. Everyone supported each other. Like everyone would put each other's name forth. Hey, I just got published in this place. You should, send something. I got interviewed here,
Yeah.
Like I could give you a list.
And I think that's something really
people,
special about small press poetry.
Yeah, correct.
Is it is such a smaller community. Everybody knows everybody because we're willing to put one another's names out there. Say, I've been published with so-and-so. They've also published so-and-so.
Yeah.
Like Todd and I have both published Julie.
Yeah, Julie Valin.
And she's phenomenal. She's in California.
Yeah, writer out of California.
And it's really all about those connections.
Yeah.
She should be on the show.
Yeah.
If we can ever get her over here.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's a very sweet thing to be able to, say to somebody, like you, hey, I think this person would be great. Because if we get along, then chances are you're going to get along with the person that we just recommended.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
of course, she knows everybody, so it makes it easy.
Yeah. Anyone
I'm
friends of the
so
great
not
Linzi
true.
Garcia.
Coattail riding,
Yeah.
Danny. I'm coattail riding.
I'm coattail riding Todd Cirillo. Absolutely. He's friends with Gary Snyder. My goodness. My goodness.
Yeah.
But it is really cool. I feel like this community is very supportive of one another. It's not a lot of competition. I mean, you like what you like and you don't like what you don't like.
Yeah.
And that's fine. You don't have to like everything that everybody's putting out. And I think that we are honestly critical.
Yeah.
I think we say,
you have to be
this
critical.
is the kind of stuff we enjoy. This is why we enjoy it. This is the stuff I don't enjoy and why I don't enjoy it.
Not everyone likes everything. Jesus Christ.
And that's fine. I think poetry, and this is for any art form. I mean, there are such diverse styles that I think people really have a narrow view of what poetry should be, what small press poetry is, what an open mic should be. And it's really none of that. I think you really have to give it a chance because you're always going to be surprised.
Yeah.
Isn't that a great point of view? Wouldn't you like to hear a poem about that, Dan?
I would.
See?
Do we have a poem about that?
I'm sure we do.
Oh my gosh. Let's open up the...
Danny, you got to get this,
open up the folders.
All right, we've got
enough
some
with
poems.
this fucking jabber, man.
We can
We're talking gibberish all night. Let's get down to the good stuff.
Let's get down to business right here.
The snow one?
Yeah.
I was
Let's get down to
thinking
the good stuff.
The prettiest poem one. Can I read two small poems?
Of course.
All right.
Sorry,
So I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start with the.
I'm a poetry fan.
I appreciate that about you.
I am. I'm also a Modelo fan. Can I get another one of those?
Oh yeah, are you ready?
Hey man, you're not supposed to.
We can edit that.
Oh yeah,
out.
right. No, we'll bleep that one out.
Yeah.
That's right.
Until they
send us a check.
That's right.
But they're not
We
getting
should
shit
send
out of me.
This blooper to Modelo.
They're the biggest.
Give us
they're the biggest.
$15 and I won't
They're the
bleep it
biggest
out.
beer company in the world now. So.
Modelo's the biggest beer company.
But aren't they
whoever
like-
owns Modelo.
Yeah,
Oh,
aren't they like
wow.
just owned by Anheuser-Busch or whatever?
No, Anheuser-Busch sold to a European country, a Dutch company now, I think. Yeah.
That's
so,
interesting.
anyways.
Anyways.
All right, get ready.
This
So
next,
you never know what to
Fucking
expect
set
from a
yourself,
poem.
bro.
this next,
I'm gonna
yeah.
read you two short poems. So this one is about poetry, as I explain it when we don't have to explain it. It's called The Prettiest Poem.
Let's go.
Sometimes it's not about writing the prettiest poem. It's about pinning that poem to your ass pocket, taking it out dancing, not letting anyone read it, ripping it off, tossing it to the dance floor at last call and never wearing it again.
Beautiful.
Simple enough.
see?
I love any poem that features ass pocket.
We love ass.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the one that Todd
Yeah,
wanted to hear, called Snow Day. And I think you'll be able to relate to this.
Okay.
Everyone's tracks are visible, if they're going out at all. Nobody murders on a snow day.
See? Look at that.
And where did this
Kills.
yeah, where were these written? What was the inspiration behind
The
these?
last person she murdered.
Let her say it.
Certainly. Todd, don't out me like that.
Well, I like reality.
Well, I used to...
We got you on camera now.
That's
Yeah.
right. Right. Whew.
Yeah, that's good.
So now you have to publish whatever I say to publish.
Yeah.
I used to work as a reporter. And so a lot of those come from that where, you're on police scanner duty and you're just waiting for some awful news. You have to go out to a car crash or you have to go to a domestic violence.
A TV reporter?
A newspaper reporter.
A newspaper reporter, even the lowest of the low.
It was a good experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're sitting there watching it snow. The snow just keeps accumulating. And there's nothing out there except every once in a while a car will go out. Every once in a while you'll see some footprints. Mm-hmm. And so, nobody's out there risking it.
Yeah.
Nobody
you could be the
murders
first.
on a snow day.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm not saying nobody. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know you had a journalism background.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was a good time. I have a lot of poems in this new manuscript, hopefully a book coming out next year, about being a reporter.
Do you have any of those?
I have a lot of those.
Well, let's get into it.
All right. Okay.
This is the new
next
manuscript.
one. Yeah, this is the new manuscript.
Okay, beautiful.
I ended my time as a reporter during the pandemic, right at the very end of 2020. Just got burnt out. Had been doing it for a couple of years. So this is one of those days where I couldn't take it anymore. Just reporting on the pandemic all the time.
Oh my God.
So it's called The Reporter Skips Town.
Hey. Man, I feel like I'm gonna like this one.
I probably have a meeting right now, but instead I'm resting on a lake dock, drinking coffee at pace with the sunrise, swishing my feet through the water, ran away, no news here.
Wow. Man, I can see it.
Yeah?
I wish I was there right now, to be honest with you.
It'd be really nice, wouldn't it?
I like that.
It's the most peaceful one. The other ones are very intense. Accidents and...
Are your poems usually so short?
Yes.
Is that by choice?
Yes. A bit. We were just talking about this earlier. I can't seem to write a long poem anymore. I used to write longer poems, but I've always been a short poem person. And Todd is also a short poem person, though you have some longer ones. And I used to write very metaphysical poetry. I was studying philosophy, so, you know.
Oh, yeah.
The things that you're reading, the things that you're studying are the things that influence what you're writing. And when I started focusing on poetry instead of philosophy and literature, I noticed that my poems would get a lot shorter because those were the poems I was drawn to. So I have a lot of short poems these days. I don't think a single poem in this manuscript is over a page. They're all very short.
Why do you think you're drawn to short poems?
I think I really like certain frames of images. I want it to be like a piece of art. You look, you get it all. You can dissect it if you want it, but you don't have to. It's all right there in front of you. Or there's more if you want there to be more. I like telling a story in the fewest amount of words. I don't want to give you more than you need. And I can't help it, I guess. I try.
So you try to write longer poems? So does that mean you're like unhappy with the short poems?
Not necessarily. Sometimes I just think that the descriptions need to be more extensive. I just need it to be a clearer image. And sometimes that helps. Sometimes I do build onto them. But for the most part, I think I think about it. I come up with it. I jot it down. I play with it a little bit. But if that clear image comes to mind immediately and I'm able to get it down, then that's what it is.
So your creative process is very picturesque. Like you see images when you're writing?
A lot of times. Or have a feeling.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't have to be visual, but...
Cool.
Yeah.
Can you read another one?
Sure. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Oh, I already read that one. Oh, this will be a good opportunity. So I have a couple books.
Yeah.
The first one was published in 2018 by the Jason Reberg with Spartan Press and Will.
Oh my
Thank
God.
you.
Why have I never seen it? Please show it off to the cameras.
Here you go, camera. Here you go.
Camera A, camera B.
Camera A, camera B. And these are some longer poems. These are the philosophical poems.
And how old were you when you were writing these? How long ago this was? If you don't want to say your age, I don't...
So I'm 27 now. I published this in 2018 when I was 22.
Okay.
I wrote the poems from about 18 to 22. So they're a little embarrassing now, to be completely honest.
No, that's exciting.
But they are what they are. It's the first book. It opened a door to a lot of things. And now I'm here. So I'll take the last 5 years of growing and learning about poetry because of this book.
Let's read these embarrassing poems.
All right, this one's a little less embarrassing. Last time Will interviewed Corrine Corley and I at the Johnson County Public Library a few months ago, somebody asked, or he asked, when do you feel the most bold when writing? When do you feel like, you're really saying something? And I think this is the first poem where I feel like I just let it go. I didn't care what anybody had to say about it. And I guess I'll say this ahead of time. When I showed this to Todd, this was before it was published, and he told me to cut the last line. And so I did. So there's no last line in the book. But since then, I've always wanted to put it back in.
Yeah.
So I'll put it back in.
Sure.
And then we'll have you read some things. So it's called Spew. I want to say what's on my mind. But know that what's on my mind is grungy and raw and kind of smells like a flower shop with a hint of urine. I want to know I have the power to hurt people. And hurt everyone a little bit for a little second, like a pine needle in the ass or a too hard high five. I want to not live in a limbo of professionalism and agony artistics. I want to create and create and create and fuck and create and drink too much coffee and get sweaty and cold. I want to gnaw at the hand of inspiration and spew the chunks that fell off in my mouth. I want to read poetry in the women's restroom and climb as many buildings as I can. I want to pretend to jump off and make everyone suck the air in real quick and intense. I want to make out with a book and get pregnant by swallowing its ideas. I want to birth its baby book and burn it. I want to spread its ashes on my softest parts and let tomorrow swallow me. And I want to not want so goddamn much.
Fuck yeah. I want tomorrow to swallow me.
It's easy. It just happens. It's going to happen whether or not you want it to.
God, that was great. That
Thanks.
I'm fired up.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet.
That was awesome.
Sweet. You want a poem that fires you up?
A poem that fires me up.
Yeah.
That sounds like a challenge.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. All right.
Oh, man. I love the binder.
Oh, thank you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Everybody needs a binder covered in stickers and full of poems.
Since
Yes.
we're talking about poetry.
And I love the dividers.
Yeah.
He's very organized.
Yeah, since
It
we're
is.
talking about poetry,
So organized poet.
we'll do this. This is my idea of what poetry is.
Okay.
Right? Useful poetry. I read the poet's new book and saw this line. Waiting for something, hoping for anything. It is that type of brilliant phrase that will stick with people when they read it. On buses and trains, if people still use buses and trains. But I'm confident that this book will be read in airports by people coming or going to see other people or those who are just getting away from everyone. It will have significance during breakups and given as gifts to impress. It will be quoted at weddings and funerals. Lines will be stolen by those who call themselves poets. It will be opened over and over again and again. And it'll be opened only once and placed on a shelf with other books with crisp spines and unstained pages. Don't take that personally. Pages will also get covered in gin and tonics, baby food, spaghetti sauce, birthday cake, dark chocolate, red wine, and white Russians. Other times, this book will solve problems, such as an unbalanced pool table or a crooked washing machine. Don't take that part personally either. It may not be what you had hoped for, but just remember, poetry is supposed to be useful.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
That was great.
Supposed to be useful.
I love
God, I
that
love that.
poem.
Yeah.
That's good.
Useful poetry.
I feel like poets are one of the few writers that are actually being fucking honest with themselves. And the fact that, like, most writers, it's so hard to come across, like, a writer who feels like they're writing not to an audience, but to just themselves.
Yeah. I think
And
it's got to start there.
I think poets are, like, one of those authors that actually feels like they're writing for themselves. They're going really deep. I mean, and they're self-aware and they're aware that there's an audience, but that plays into the fact that they are I don't know. They're digging deeper than most. It feels like most authors.
That's
But
interesting.
I got that from that poem.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll take that.
Next,
I'm
ready.
You want to hear a poem I wrote for my best friend?
Yeah.
See, and talk
Yes,
about
please.
writing for someone else. My best friend for Tobe. I felt the vibration, looked down, and saw he was calling me on the phone, no less. No text, no email, no quick Facebook comment. A real person-to-person connection. We can go months without actually talking. He hates talking on the phone. I answer quickly. What's happening, my man? Nothing. Only faraway voices mumbling amid background noises. I try again. One last time. Same. I hang up. I text him, hey brother, you must have butt dialed me. A response came quickly. No butt dialing, buddy. The phone was in my front pocket. And that sums up my best friend, a truly talented dick.
That's good shit right there.
Yeah, man. See, it's got to be relatable.
Wow.
Gotta be real. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Man, I'm seeing a whole other side of you.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, that's the only side. Wait till I get my autobiographical poem.
Okay.
You like Waylon Jennings?
Ooh.
Do I like what?
Waylon Jennings.
Waylon Jennings.
Yeah, or Willie Nelson, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. We'll get to that.
Cool.
There.
But,
He loves
yeah,
that one.
Yeah, I do that.
It's a
That's
good
good
one.
shit.
It's a
I like
really
that
good
one a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that you should be surprised by poems. I think that they should
Yeah.
say something where you go, whoa, I did not expect to read that.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for.
Right. Yeah.
You just never know what to expect.
Yeah, and I feel like that one has a nice reward. I'm like following him on the edge of the seat.
Yeah,
and then
you're waiting for it to happen.
You give me something good.
The last couple lines are where it all happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, see, that'd be the one that you said earlier, the girlfriend poem.
The girlfriend poem?
Yeah, with the weather and everything that leads into it. Yeah. And it has the at the end.
I think you should read. Can he read another
Well,
one?
Of course.
Yeah,
of
read one
course.
first.
No,
Yeah,
you read that
read
one. Perfect
first.
segue. Perfect segue.
I think you got 3.
I got plenty.
Oh, she got all good ones. Yeah.
That's a good attitude. But
Yeah.
I meant you read 3 already. How many did you read?
You did.
Yeah, 3.
So you got one more.
All right.
Then we can bounce back to. There's no rules. It's
No
Prospero's
rules.
pit.
No rules.
Yeah.
Creative process.
All right.
This
So
is,
you ready for this?
yeah,
one?
I'm ready.
This
All
is
right.
one of my favorites.
Okay.
Pay attention.
Yeah.
Let me sit up straight.
That's right.
Yes.
Do you like falling in love?
That's
Yes.
a
Oh,
legitimate
yeah,
question.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, I do like falling in love.
Yeah. As much as it can be a fucking hassle, it's great.
Of course. I mean,
Yeah,
look
there's
at
nothing
this.
like it, right?
There's a reason we're in the same room
A
here.
first kiss, no matter how many times you do it, is the best, right? Do you know that feeling? Do you know that feeling when a relationship reaches a point where you just smile at the ease and comfort of it all? When conversations come easily and you talk all the time about the weather, the news of the day, the state of the country, places to go and see, what to add to grocery lists, books you are reading, or dumb jokes you tell each other that aren't necessarily funny, but you laugh anyways because you appreciate the effort. You find the ways in which you compliment one another, like one is better at math or spelling and the other plays the perfect music while cooking. That's not to say there are no hard times or challenging times or breakdowns in communication, where you can go a day or two without being able to speak to one another. I've heard that in every relationship there are times when you have to simply take a break and recharge. But that is where the reliability and the comfort comes in. They say it takes time to get to that point. However, they also say at other times it just happens instantly. And this is how my latest relationship began. I met her online. It seems the only option these days. I haven't introduced her to many of my close friends yet. A few have met her, but we're still figuring one another out. How to respond to one another. How to make it work, though I am optimistic, and it already feels comfortable. My favorite part, though, are those slow-moving mornings when my arm rests under the cool side of the pillow. and birds make bird sounds in the courtyard, just beyond the windows. And she greets me with, "Good morning, Todd." And I like the way she enunciates my name, and that she is there. So I turn in the bed to greet her as well. "Good morning, Alexa. What's the weather today?"
I knew that was too good to be true.
Oh man,
Yeah,
drink
your
to that.
turn. You're up. That's good. Yeah.
Wow.
What do you want to know, Danny?
Yeah.
Let's
yeah.
go. Let's
Next
keep going.
question, please.
Yeah, please.
Next question.
I was gonna say you're a dangerous man, Todd. I'll say that.
Very dangerous
Just someone
man.
who
Yeah,
likes
very dangerous.
Shiny moments and good times.
You have a way with your words. Anyone tell you that?
No, I appreciate that, Danny.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get that tattooed next to my Gonzo tattoo.
Yeah, you got one?
About time.
Not yet. No, yeah.
Get a Gonzo tattoo and you have a
I
way
told
with
you I
your
got a whole
words.
Mardi Gras crew dedicated to Hunter.
Right, which is shocking why you don't have a tattoo
Oh,
yet.
you would love it. You got to
Yeah.
come down from Mardi
He's
Gras.
gonna be part of the
come
crew.
down, yeah,
Yeah.
you can come in and get in that crew. Yeah,
I will. I've honestly been trying to get down there for Mardi Gras for some time.
It'll
Next
blow
year?
your mind.
Let's
yeah.
go.
Next year.
Yeah.
February.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is next year.
Yeah.
All right, but back
Are we
to
going?
the
That
poetry.
sounds like a road
Back to the
trip. Let's
poetry.
go.
Sounds like a road
yeah.
trip.
I'm down.
I'm ready.
I won't forget this.
Get a lot of poems out of it.
You're
Yeah.
gonna get a.
Yeah.
But yeah, I believe it's your turn now.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
want to hear more poems?
Yeah, I'm just like a little glutton. I'm like, please.
And keep asking the questions. You're asking good questions.
You are
Danny.
asking really
Yeah.
good questions.
Yeah.
You're a great host.
Oh,
Appreciate
you
that.
It takes
Thank
a
you.
lot more
Yeah.
skill to be a
You can do
podcast
the
host
rabbi
than a poetry host.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Poetry
Oh,
hosts, you
I
just got to
quieter.
make everyone feel like they're so special in the
Yeah.
world.
That's right.
Podcasts, you get to like be serious journalists and be like,
It is a form of journalism.
Yeah, oh, it
certainly.
definitely
Yeah.
is. But it is more intimate. Like a podcast is
It is.
much more like it's just us three like talking.
yeah,
Whereas in a poetry host, there's a little bit. Well, city boys here. There's a little bit of mob mentality there, where you're like,
Oh yeah.
kind of. I mean, there's real power in that room when you're hosting.
Yeah.
I mean, one, you're not only host like in controlling a large group of people, but you're controlling a very opinionated large
That
group
is
of people
very
who
true.
know how to use their words, and so you kind of have to play this like game of not like being like some sort of wolf pack leader, but also like having some sort of firm grip on the situation so it doesn't get out of control.
Have you ever been in a situation where you're interviewing someone, you got to like shut it down a little bit, or like say, okay, now we're gonna go this way?
Yeah, I've had a situation. I have an episode I haven't released because I'm not sure what to do with it.
Oh, interesting.
But
Yeah.
that one, it was a different angle with different people, and there was a moment where I was just like, I don't even know where to go with. I kept trying to lead.
Yeah.
You try to build the yellow brick road so we can walk down it together, and they were not interested in walking down it. So I was like, well,
Interesting.
Yeah.
sure. I don't know. You have to let go of where the yellow brick road leads, and I was very much trying to control exactly where the yellow brick road led, and they were not going down there, and we had to take a little break. Yeah.
Well, way to go. Way to navigate that one.
Yeah, I haven't had that happen in like a crowd setting, like at a poetry open mic or anything like that, but I've small sample size, so.
In a crowd like that, I go, well, that was weird. And then I redirect it.
Yeah, exactly. Just make everybody laugh.
Yeah.
And walk out.
Hopefully not. Hopefully they stay.
Everyone get out. No, I'm just playing. But you're up.
ahead.
All right. So another Spartan book. Camera.
Camera.
Oh yeah.
While Away, which I curated and did all of the layout for. It includes poems with Kevin Rabus and Brett Seaton.
Amazing.
And myself. So, this is one of my favorite poems called Drinks with the Rabbi.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Thanks.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Classic setup. The rabbi walks into a bar. White suit, gold buttons are ready to burst. Matching cap, matching tie, purple slippers. Adorned with a boutonniere of baby's breath and fern, a bouquet to match. He's looking for the girl with green eyes. The rabbi walks into a bar for me. Me, an old 25. Him, a young 76. We drink beer and talk about the time and space that led us here together. The rabbi used to travel the world, chasing girls, chasing beaches. When the love ran dry, there was always the water, always the sunsets, always the boats way out there, coming and going as they do. The rabbi was an army man, son of a navy man, climbed the ranks to lieutenant colonel, didn't bat an eyelash when he met the late Herbert Hoover. The rabbi hides a toy fish in his pocket, keeps it handy to toss on the floor, stir up laughter when conversation lulls. The rabbi says he keeps a pocket printer on him too, asks me for a piece of paper. He makes robotic noises, beep, beep, boop, boop, scribbles his Jewish name, his Catholic name, and his cell phone number.
Dirty rabbi.
Great guy. Great guy.
Did you call that number? Am I allowed to ask?
We texted a little bit. I said, thanks for a great time.
Oh man, that sounds like a second poetry.
And then we never got back together. Did not go out for another round of drinks.
Text with rabbi.
He left another woman in his car the whole time we got together. He was helping another woman run errands.
Uh-huh.
And, I was asking him what else he was up to that day. And he's like, helping my friend run errands. It's like, well, where is your friend? He's like, she's in the car. And I was like, bring her in.
Wow.
No, she doesn't really like bars. We'll go grocery shopping afterward.
God's in the car.
There's religion for you.
Yeah.
Good time. Memorable time.
Uh-huh. That's good. I like that. I feel like I've met him.
Guy.
No, you got his number too?
Yeah, I feel like we know the same guy?
Oh man.
I hope so. I hope he comes in sometime.
Yeah. If a fish hits the deck, then
that's
I'll
right.
know.
You'll know.
Yeah.
You'll certainly know.
That's not a bad ploy, honestly.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know what to talk about, and then you just
You're like,
throw
quiet.
a toy on the ground.
Yeah. Whoops, my fish
you never
jumped
know what's
out.
gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate the prep.
Yeah.
On to the next, I think.
You want another poem?
Yeah, why not?
All right. Lukenbach, Texas. I have reached the point of becoming a goddamn country music cliche. I sit alone in a dirty bar in ripped jeans, trucker hat, light wallet, surrounded by old torn posters, faded chalkboard, blinking half neons, and a dusty bottle of root beer schnapps not touched since 78. And busted dreams, drinking cheap beer and strong shots, listening to Waylon Jennings sing about Willie and the boys. And I know all the words. These kinds of situations make a person reflective. I realize my life contains most classic elements. Wrecked trucks by love's long loss, stranded in the rain without bus fare and no way home, thrown in jail 3 times for something I was completely guilty of. Been cheated out of my money and my heart, left for other men, and if I'm being honest, the occasional woman too. Had all the light bulbs in my house methodically busted out one by one. Had a shotgun pointed in my face, and when she said it was loaded, I took her word for it. But I don't ride horses, or wear a giant bucking bronco belt buckle, or even own a dog. Yet here I sit, at the far end of the bar, with an open tab, living it up, right in the next chorus. Just me, Waylon, Willie, and the boys.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's a good self-portrait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it's easier to write about yourself or about things around you?
Wow, that's a good question. I think it's easier for me to write about myself in the things around me. Yeah. What about
Combination.
you? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the same thing.
Yeah. I think if you have guts, you'll write about yourself, and you'll put it out there, in a good, refined way, revised way.
Yeah. I think it's nice to put things about the things around you or about things that are completely made up when
Oh, yeah.
it's not so brave.
Yeah, if I get to make up stuff, that's the best.
Yeah, yeah.
If you get to make up something and someone thinks it's true or it's
Right.
about them, yeah, that's the best.
That's the masterpiece.
But that's all true. There's not a line in there that ain't true. And it was a great bar I wrote it in.
And it's interesting in poetry that you never know what's true or what's completely fictionalized.
Yeah, it's a game within the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And people can make assumptions all they want.
Yeah, and a talented writer can really put that forward. You know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Go ahead. I want to hear something else from you.
Yeah?
Yeah. Something brutal.
Something brutal?
Yeah, something brutal. I want to hear something brutal.
Oh. So I'm working on being brutal.
No, yeah. You are brutal. You're just working on putting it on the page.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate Todd's input about that. I feel like he's got a really nice perspective on how to artistically put it all out there without being obnoxious.
Yeah, you
or
gotta be
without
realistic.
shielding yourself.
Most writers will just write and they overwrite themselves, and they'll take out the real beautiful part about what somebody who doesn't like poetry can connect with, right? Because they write for their other MFA writers or their workshop writers, and that's who they're writing for. And they all say, well, well, my stuff's really relatable. Well, no, it ain't, Because somebody who's at the grocery store, who's coming in the bookstore, who's coming in to get a shot of Jaeger or something, it ain't relatable, I think they take out a lot of the, they polish it too much, maybe.
Well, it sounds like almost like you get too into the scene. Like this is the same, I think this applies to filmmakers as well. It's like when you're surrounding yourself with indie filmmakers, or just talking about these indie filmmakers, the next films
that no one has
seen. For indie filmmakers. It's
Right.
for nobody else.
Yeah, films who no one has seen.
Yeah, and it kind of has like a little bit of it lacks that soul.
Yeah, that's a good,
that,
good
that
analogy.
connects to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, good analogy.
Absolutely.
Let's hear it.
All right.
I'm ready to be brutalized.
All right. So this one's called Cravings. Yeah?
Sure, yeah.
All right. So, I've had my period 114 times by now. And what do I have to show for it? Embarrassing stories, a birth control prescription history, a red perspective on what it means to be a woman. I've dodged pregnancy, though I could have baked 9 children by now. Now, I crave to make life with my life. Now, I want to name the next generation after the last and teach them everything I know about family and love. Instead, I lay next to my husband-to-be, who's burnt out by his 4 little mistakes, and I bleed all my disappointment.
Yeah, fucker. Yeah, right. See, that takes guts, man.
Yeah.
That's
good.
Takes guts. Yeah, it takes guts.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that going to be in the next one? The next book?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Maybe not word for word, might change a couple of things, but
With every new book, we must break a lot of spirits and a lot of souls, a lot of hearts.
yeah.
If you're writing well. And also, encourage hearts and souls and whatnot
absolutely.
too.
It should be
mostly
both.
break.
It should be empowering.
But yeah, that's mostly,
It should be empowering.
Go fast and break things.
yeah.
Yeah. I like that one a lot.
Thanks.
Yeah. I think you should continue down this path of brutality.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
It is what it is.
You want to hear a non-brutal poem?
Yeah, I do.
Let's lighten the mood a
Do
little
you like
bit.
to travel?
I do. I love to
All right.
travel. Come
Yeah.
on now.
Well, this one's for you, Danny.
For your next flight, Danny.
Yeah, think about this on your next flight.
Okay, perfect.
Right? Mile High Club.
Always
The
on my mind.
stewardess gave me her number when the plane was taking off. I smiled and thought, if this plane goes down, our first date would be quick, but definitely a sure thing.
See? A quick one, right to the point.
right.
Makes
Right
us
to the
laugh.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice little filler. Mm-hmm. I like that a lot.
You're going to think of that when they're showing you the exits.
I mean, yeah. I think of that anytime I step on a plane. So,
Yeah.
Right?
you got some more you want to share?
If you want, I will.
I mean, I'm down to listen to all of your poetry, like right now.
I can listen to him read an entire book.
Yeah. Like, I think it's something about the southern twang with also your style. It just like lulls me into a little bit of a puddle.
Puddle.
It's the southern.
Filthy, terrible puddle.
Yeah, like
nasty,
French
nasty,
puddle.
with their
Like
brain
gutter
amoeba
puddle.
killing you,
Yeah.
with a fucking amoeba
Like some
kills you.
trash.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah.
High school reunion?
Do it.
All right.
Let's get it.
High school reunion. At the beach bar, as far south as the road can go. A song from my high school years comes on the jukebox, The Heart of the Matter by Don Henley. It played on MTV at slow dances under bedroom black lights, on poster-plastered walls, in the front seat of cars, behind buildings, at low-lit dead ends. To get this far away, all these miles, moments, and years spent mostly on bar stools around the world. A very long, long way from those dirt road days, living in a hated town, full of rotten apple orchards, run-down bowling alleys, an annual peach festival that everyone talked about year-round, cornfield drinking, all those confused first fumblings at love, only to end up back here again, fucked up with my own loneliness, sitting on an old wooden bar stool with long-gone names carved into it in the sunshine and sweet breeze. Just another one of the boys of summer who tried to get away.
High school.
Next.
High school.
High school.
Next.
Yeah, next.
All right.
Yeah.
No, I gotta savor that one for a second.
What's your next question?
Well, I guess my next question, and I think this is going to be wrapping up the podcast because
Yeah.
we're up past an hour now. But
Whoa, that went quickly.
Oh, all right.
this is what I'm saying. It's like the podcast will end, but I will listen to more poems. Let's end it on this question: why the fuck would anyone care about poetry?
All right, before we answer that, could we end on one poem each?
Sure.
And the whole podcast that. Do you want to answer that first? Go ahead. His question is a very valid question. Why would anyone...
I think we need it to gain some perspective. I think that poetry should add to the way we see the world. Mm-hmm. And the bigger we can see the world, the better. So I think we should give a shit about poetry because it does that for us. Or anything. It doesn't have to be poetry. But any form of literature or other form of art that enhances our perspective is meaningful.
Well, yeah, why should someone give a fuck about poetry? Mm-hmm. I don't think they should. I mean, I don't think that I don't think poetry... I think poetry has been so diluted now, again, for... that there's so much of it, and anybody can do it. And it's gotten to the point where people, when they put something out, that's it. That's sacred. It should never be touched. Should never be commented upon other than this is wonderful, this is great. You're doing it for likes, you're doing it for clicks. When the reality is, if you think back of when poetry was at the top of the mountain, which it no longer is, I mean, it used to be, that's the way that they communicated. That was the highest art form possible. And it is not now. Poetry's not going to change anything. It's not going to change the fucking world. It's not going to change, anybody. It may change an individual where they read something, they go, I can relate to this. But poetry ain't going to change anything. Those days have gone. Nobody's selling 1 million poetry books anymore. No one's going to sell 1 million poetry books. but you can connect one-on-one like we have here. You read things and, you might like something. You go out and say, hey, I like Linzi Garcia, or like Todd Cirillo, or something like that. But why should someone care about it? I don't really, I don't know why they should care about it. Maybe visual arts, I think, is really good. If you can marry words with the images, I think that's like where it's at, to be honest with you. I mean, we're sort of stuck in like an, I don't know, it's this weird, like, horrible limbo, like where, what's that, the Greeks used to travel across where you'd pay the ferry to get across.
Underworld.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, I think we're just in the middle of the river Styx. And we're just floating right now. Because everybody says, well, I wrote this down. And everyone goes, oh, it's great. I'm going to give you a like and all that. But they're not talking about the craft. They're talking about just putting it out. And that's very negative. That's terrible. I feel bad about even saying that.
I mean,
but
that's your answer.
Yeah,
that's right.
I just don't, it matters to the individual. And I think that's where we have to build it out from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Ta-da!
Yeah, it's honest.
So,
Yeah.
It's got to happen from the individual outward. It's the only way it can happen.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, all this, like, poetry's not going to sell 1 million copies anymore. Maybe Allen Ginsberg was the last one. I think,
I don't know. I'd like to look into that.
Well, he sold his all of his archives for $1 million. I think he was the last poet to earn $1 million, I would think.
I don't know.
If not, I'm doing it all wrong.
Of Milk and Honey have been
That's
sold?
exactly what I was thinking.
What's that?
How many
Milk and
copies of
Honey.
Milk and Honey have been sold?
Probably a lot.
My assistant will look that up.
That's right. There's hope.
Assistant.
There's hope.
Yeah.
I do think there's a resurgence in poetry.
Oh,
I think that it's becoming more popular again.
There's a little bit of a scene.
Not super popular by any means, but more popular than it has been.
I think it is
they're
as
hubs.
popular as it always has been. I think it is popular, and it does bring people together, and it does. But again, there's, I mean, I'm happy with the fact that you all got into this. When Linzi and I get together and we go over like poems and stuff, I'm happy that she, because I respect who she is as an editor, who she is as a writer, that she can look at something of mine and she's not bullshitting me. Like, hey, I really like this. This is good. It's good. That's good enough. It's good enough,
Or I can say, I think you should tighten it up here.
Correct.
And you do the same for me.
Correct. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I go that. Yeah, and that's good enough. I think that's where poetry really is right now. And there's certain groups of poets that are around, and I think you'll find that once you start traveling around, and you'll be amazed. But it's always just it's going to be kind of smaller. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I think that's a good spot to wrap it up, honestly.
I think it's great.
I think I think there's something going on right now in the poetry scene that is unfolding and that we don't really understand until it happens. I definitely know that being in the poetry scene being a vet in the poetry scene, you take your beatings and you continue to move forward if you truly love it. But I do think that there is something really special with someone who, like you said, speaks to their story, speaks to them as an individual, and moves out with that. I think that can move rooms, and if you can move a room, you can move a city, and you can move a city, you can move a country. And I think that's where it's...
Yeah, and really, like you said, if you're going out somewhere back east, you find that. Come down to New Orleans, you find like Poets with Drinks, and you find these there's certain things that happen out west, but there are these individual events, and Fountain Verse used to happen here, and that was really good. You find those things, like I think that's where it moves things forward.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna end on these poems.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Uh-oh. This is
What do I
gonna be
have
good.
for you?
We should get free shots. Right, Danny? Come on, dude.
All right. So
Yeah.
Prospero's bar.
I've been down to New Orleans a handful of times now. And it's always an inspiration.
New Orleans loves her.
That much.
Sure.
Yeah.
That much I can say. I love New Orleans. New Orleans apparently loves me, and I'll take it.
Yeah, yeah.
So here's one about New Orleans. Me and New Orleans. Not grammatically correct. All the better poetically. I dreamt of the city and its people. Of all the wonderful things I could do with them. Awakened by a second line, I lay on the couch. Smile as it passes. I almost forgot I was still here. With only minutes before I leave city limits, I walk out the front door to take it all in once more. It's just me out here on the corner of North Rampart and St. Ferdinand. Me and that tabby cat. Everyone else is going to bed or still sleeping the weekend off. Me and the blooming magnolias. Fishermen casting their first line into twilight on Lake Pontchartrain. Me and sweet jasmine air. Lovers somewhere about to make love for the last time. Me and New Orleans.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's good, man. All right, Dan, you ready?
That was great. Yeah.
Saints of the Neons. It matters not what bar, any town, anywhere. It is where us serious drinkers talk shit and gossip, backslap, and bullshit, yet hold one another tight when the time is necessary. And if 2 weekends pass, we wonder where you've been. We've broken up in front of the beer taps and busted our faces at happy hour defending someone's honor. We've seen kids grow up and marriages grow old. Lives born and lights go out. We've heard every jukebox tune 1,000 times, sometimes in one sitting. We've overtipped to be overserved, have woken up with the hair of the dog and passed out when the sun shows its face. We've done shots and been shot down. Down pints and puked in the garbage cans. Embarrassed and absolved ourselves over Jaeger bombs and Bloody Marys. Here we are equally lost, equally broke, equally off. And we look almost innocent under the neons. We spend hungover holidays on barstool thrones, where liquor bottles stand like gods under Christmas lights, providing us gifts we didn't know we needed. Even though Sunday mornings can be brutal, without a hint of redemption, we crawl back to the neons, full of confessions and contrition, where we never have to order. The bartender simply has it waiting, with a beer back of forgiveness, and that feels better than church to saints like us.
Wow. Thank you guys for being on. I really appreciate you guys being here.
Thanks for having us, Danny.
Yeah,
what a
course.
treat.
Of course.
Keep
Thank
doing
you
what
guys.
you're
That was
doing.
awesome.
Appreciate
Doing a
you
great
guys.
job.
I'm going to cut it there.
All right, bro.